to a journalist who is covering Farmgate from across our border. I'm joined now from Windhoek by Shelleygan Peterson of the Namibian newspaper. Shelleygan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. So I wonder if you could just talk to us about what picture is emerging from your side of the story, because what we know of what is being alleged is that these thieves took the money from the president's farm, somehow got over the border into Namibia. There's all sorts of allegations that the two presidents conspired to get the thieves back into South Africa. Both of them are denying that. So tell me what you've been able to piece together from what happened in Namibia.
So what happened was that one of the suspects essentially came to Namibia, crossed our borders illegally, and he was assisted by one of our former SOE's executives. He went to pick up one of the suspects called Emanuela David to get from North Uber into Windhoek. At some point during the drive between the border and Windhoek, our capital, it's about a 5 to 6 hour drive. So essentially, he got a police officer. Somehow, we're still trying to find out why a police officer was picked up in Keetmanshoop during their visit or during their drive down to Windhoek. The suspects came to Windhoek, essentially slept here one night. He has allegedly also tested positive at some point, and that is all detailed in a report done by our Namibian police that was done in 2020. In June, actually detailing that he tested positive and he was essentially arrested. At some point when he was arrested, and this is where we have General Walter's Roda's role in this. So it's alleged in Arthur Fraser's statement that he came into the country undetected he didn't go through any border control, so that's breaking our immigration laws. So he came in, and that's obviously or alleged by the help of our president, came in, then got in touch while Emanuela was in custody of our police, somehow connected to or got a hold of David, questioned him, and tried to get the money back out of Windhoek. And as far as the suspects, are the other suspects, that part is still very unclear. So we don't know how, for instance, how the other suspects were questioned. So according to the police, through the police report, it was just that they questioned David. Emanuela David.
All right, so there's quite a lot that you're uncovering and still more to come from what you're telling me. So now we've got a situation where your president in Namibia is denying any involvement in allegations that our president sought his help in apprehending the suspects and or covering up the matter. You've mentioned the fact that there are allegations that our president's head of the protection unit apparently went over to Namibia to try and get hold of the suspected thief. But what have you discovered, if anything, that might point directly to either of the two presidents being involved in this matter?
So the report that I was referring to earlier was a report by our Namibian police, the head of our criminal investigations, or the former head of our criminal investigations unit within our police, our national police. Now, we only recently saw this highly confidential leaked report where it clearly states, the head of the unit states that the presidents are discussing the matter. The report details how the theft took place at President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm. It details how David Emanuela allegedly came over the border, and there's a part in it where it says, can you please deal with this discreetly because of the fallout, the potential fallout in South Africa and that the presidents are discussing the matter. That's number one. So it's our head of our investigation, or criminal unit saying that, plus Arthur Fraser, who's also now, his character's being questioned, but it was also in his statement that that the two presidents essentially knew about this and were talking about it.
So what I'm hearing you saying, and just tell me if I've got this right, that in the Namibian police docket into this, which you have seen, there are calls for discretion, and there's information in that file that says that the presidents have been discussing the matter. Have I got it right?
Yes, and that report is from July 2020.
Interesting. Tell me now, the fact that your ombudsman has said, well, we're not going to follow this up at all, we're not going to look into it. What does that tell you? What do you suspect is going to happen next?
If you look at his reasons, so our Ombudsman told the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters, because they lodged a complaint with them last week, and today the Ombudsman came back and said, unfortunately, this falls out of my mandate. My mandate deals with human rights violation, maladministration, and also violation within the environmental space. But in terms of criminal charges, and that's what he had a problem with. However, he then suggested or advised to the NEFF that they do go to Parliament and impeach our president because they have the right to, and they said that might be the only way. He also suggested towards taking the matter to the police and having them investigated. But according to the NEFF, they have not yet pronounced themselves. So we are yet to wait for their step. It seems like they're the only party currently in the country that is actively following up and one's sort of action.
Shelleygan, just from your perspective, because you've seen your police's investigative docket compared to, so your police docket, what you're reading, says that these two presidents did discuss the matter and there was a call for discretion. But on the surface, we've got both the presidents saying, no, nothing happened. Does this information that you've unearthed, does that suggest that these presidents are trying to cover up something?
If you look at some of the facts we have right now, we don't have concrete evidence to say that they had these calls. But if you look at our former head of criminal investigations, he is quite good. He in terms of his evidence and in terms of the cases he's handled before, it's been quite solid. So if I'm to say that they are both denying and it's a cover-up, it's questioning the word of a head of a police desk who has shown nothing but credibility and sort of solidified his work within this space. I don't, as a journalist, we don't often take sides, or we don't take sides at all. But all in terms of those two statements, it clearly indicates that the two presidents are trying to hide any communication that they had or any way that they sorted each other's help in this matter.
Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening from Windhoek. Shelleygan Peterson of the Namibian newspaper.